Okay, I know I just went live. One of those double back messages, I guess. This is random. Hey to everyone coming in again. If you were here for the last video, I just went live just to remind people of the class that I'm hosting today. But one thing that I wanted to just bring up, especially with me bringing up Chadwick Boseman, or Chad just being my friend, before he was an actor and so on, and bringing up the tattoo, and it just happened to be on an arm. He came with me to get my very first tattoo. So there's a connection there, and there was a very strong message that came in, which is why I came back in speaking on that. And I guess this is really the true meaning of why my website is named Liberated Pen. Because as soon as I got off, I felt like there was this old residue source of control that I personally wasn't necessarily detached from. And when I have personal sessions with people, we go in, we deal with like old attachments, control over your mind, especially, which eventually leads into your soul, which eventually seeps into your body, which eventually seeps into your reality. So a person that can gain a certain level of control over your mind, they eventually rule your world. And a lot of the time we don't know that this is happening, and we never escape. No matter what we try to do, no matter how great we're doing in our lives, there's this weird blockage that we tend to see and feel and sense, where we just don't know why things are not happening the way that we want them to when we're doing all the things that we should. And this is what we're going to really get into with the classes, because this is probably the most important thing, especially if I'm sharing with you information about like sexual energies and true manifestation energies, true generating of power levels of energy. But this is a thing where I was told to like just, especially after speaking of him and the movie coming out today, to remember, especially for the women, this message is specifically for the women, because again, in Hermeticism, men have rights to both male and female poles just automatically by birth. And through association, they're allowed to build up on that ladder to become more powerful and just have more authority. But for the women, the way that the grids were basically built was that there had to be a controlling of the right hand of the woman constantly to biologically be a woman. And this is where marriage sometimes came in. But it doesn't have to be about marriage anymore. Some people etherically marry people and they don't know that they're married. So women, you could be walking around and married energetically to someone, and all of a sudden they just claim that just by meeting you, you're married to them, specifically because of specific types of languages they're using, language that they're using, and so on. So we're not always aware of that, but the thing is, as this happens, be sure to, and this is why I understand this, and at least this is why I'm going to do this, because I, as a woman, a Hermetic woman, I should say, that is still a woman, that is still very feminine. I don't have to cut my hair to be Hermetic. I don't have to look more masculine or be masculine to operate both poles of my body and have full control with the masculine within me that I personally choose to have this. Now, that's my choice. And when I say my choice, that is the sentience of my left side, the chaotic side, the feminine side, my left side, my right brain. is actually making that decision. What most of these men don't understand, and this is not me bashing men, this is me actually bringing awareness to this type to possibly think about like just what this is falling into and why the world is falling apart and why women are in a state of where they are, why they're so fucking angry, why they are turning into looking a certain type of way. And because the masculine side is literally controlling that pole of the woman. And if it's enough of that grouping and philosophy, then eventually the population of women, they eventually change. I talk about this before, where I was talking about style and grace and a lot of old Hollywood and old music. And you go back in the day and women, yes, there was a control factor, but at least the men that at least had their right hand, they were allowed to still be beautiful and feminine and sensual, and they still was allowed to have careers, and they still were allowed to do certain things, even though there still was suppressions. But it's worse now than it actually was before, because a lot of women are so like, no, you can't have any parts of me. So they turn very hard and rigid because of the trust issues with these types of men. So Liberated Pen was basically inspired by the woman who can be her liberated self, which is just her wild nature, that left hand, that right side of the brain, and trust this side to tell the chaos what to do, because the chaotic form is a very true form that manifests the actual physicality of everything, which is why it's powerful when you have a specific type of woman, at least a specific type that is that harnesses her power so much so there's like literally like the stealing of the hand, and eventually you can destroy somebody's life over it. You can destroy webbings of plans out of wanting to control such a beautiful essence that can bring riches and abundance to the world, to herself, and to the quote unquote man that has some kind of domain through permission over this. So I'm not saying like, hey, we're both men and women. It's just like, no, like, it's almost like it's against a specific kind of law for this side to have a say-so in what happens here. The Liberated Pen is basically that feminine energy that is saying, no, like, I'm awake, I'm alive, and I have a choice to make in the matter of where my womb energies are going, and what are these what is bringing form, what am I bringing form into life? Because if I don't agree with what my energies are being used for by an invisible person that might have stolen my hand out of just manipulation, mental manipulation, emotional manipulation, I might be giving birth to a specific type of world that I didn't agree to, nor do I want to even live in or participate in. So which makes it can make a woman like that a prisoner of somebody else's world that is using her to create the world. So then you become like a hive mother to a hive that is not even, it's beekeeping. It's not like a wild hive or a hive that organically forms due to the agreement of the energies inside the hive building it itself. It's a false hive, or it's a very heavily gassed hive. So I just felt inclined to come back on here and just say that, like, for myself, for my own protection, because I feel like that was like still a residue of a lot of the issues that I was even dealing with for the last year or two. And not having a hold of my hand, not knowing who or what was really a part of writing my story to make me go on the decline. And it's not me saying that I don't take responsibility for my life. It is just a very real thing that when you intertwine or have even conversations with certain people and you haven't taken some kind of authority over a part of your brain that tells your subconscious what to do, when to make it happen, how to do it, that's a big deal. And that's specifically for women. And I know men have feminine sides too, right? But there's a very specific order that actually supports their own inner building. So that's just a difference. It's just laws of the astral realm, which I feel and sense are changing due to this chaotic energy that is allowing the change to happen, allowing flexibility in the very rigid grids that have been built over the course of time, that won't allow this energy to move around, you know, because it's like a very feminine circular energy that needs to move. But the masculine energy has created like boxes and squares so that it can't really express itself, yet energies are being pulled to create more of the rigid grid that this energy doesn't necessarily agree to. So that was a big deal. And I think this is a part of the reasoning why I want to at least help both male and female become aware of just your own generation of power, and understanding what authority comes over that and claiming that authority. So it's like claiming both of your hands. Like I'm claiming both of my hands, and whatever masculine energy within myself or even outside of myself that I choose to have this hand, it is this hand or this side of my brain making that actual decision. So there's just a lot of weird old patriarchy left that still believes that this part of the woman, the right side of the brain, is sleeping and does not think that she knows what's going on or that she understands building and how the two poles come together to actually build the earth that we call Earth. Or doesn't understand like where the energies are coming from the invisible side of things due to language and thought form. So there are women that exist like that, and a lot of them feel trapped in the grids of whoever has their hand, their left hand, their right hands. So the hand thing, the Wakanda thing, I'm basically claiming that, at least for my own symbolism, the forever part is forever having authority over both sides, both hands, both sides of the poles. So that creates one full being that is self-sustained, a self-sustained being, both male and female, and that is the new world right there. And anybody that has a problem with that, you know, because if people are making decisions, especially women, saying no to someone that really wants their hand in something because they're good at a specific thing, then they feel not chosen or they feel rejected. And there's like this insecurity that's built in the type of man that is. But we have nothing to do with that. Like, I have nothing to do with your insecurity about not being chosen, therefore you have to take. So that's the colonizing or colonizing, the colonizing mentality is to take because you're never chosen. And maybe you just have to start understanding the reason why you're not and fix that shit. And that's it. Like that's just and this has a lot to do with backed up archetypal archetypical relationships of a specific type of archetype that cannot let go, that can't let go. So it's just like, let go, or else you somebody's gonna cut your arm off, like because I gotta go. And this is like, we have to move on. We're not holding on linked to each other in ways that are not even beneficial, especially to the sentient being that's saying no. Like the other night, I was at the bar having a drink, and there was a guy talking to me, and I was reading my book, having my drink, having my food in my own space, and he kept bothering me. Like he had an invasive spirit. It's not that I was anti social. He had an invasive spirit. He kept talking to me. What am I reading? What do you do? Where do you live? And I'm just like, hey, I'm really trying to like eat. So I would appreciate it, like, if you just kind of just go over there. And he's just like, oh, you don't want to talk to me? And then he comes back and he still talks to me. And then he pulls out his phone and he's just like, hey, you want to see a picture of my dog? And I looked up and I said, I do not want to see a picture of your dog. And the bartender had to tell him to go. And the bartender ended up giving me a free drink because of it, because it was that invasive. And it's just like, it's like stuff like that, like people like that cannot get a clue and then feel bad when they're told no. They don't understand what invasion feels like. It's like they're totally cut off from that feeling of energy. So that's part of the reason. So these types of beings just need to come up with their own level of awareness by themselves and deal with whatever or whomever is willing to deal with that. But there's a lot of us that are not. Like Liberated Pen is about women specifically who are ready to move the fuck on, men who are also ready to move on, because women are the same way. There are some invasive women that really want to pull in these men and force men to be with them. Force men. They basically are saying, here, take my hand. Instead of stealing a hand, here, take my hand. The rejected spirit, take my hand, love me. And then these men are just like, no, I don't fucking want it. And then there's like this resentment to where they completely go sort out to ruin a man's life because of it. So it's the same male, female rejected spirit energy that I am confronting right now in this video. That is the actual problem and the blockage that is stopping a lot of us from moving forward. So that blockage is clear. These motherfuckers gotta go. They're being pushed to the side in another goddamn dimension. They are not in the world of those who are confident and ready to explore new ground and territory, because we have rights to this. The rejected spirit is like the planet Pluto, as I said before in many videos ago. Is sometimes it's a planet, sometimes it's not. If it has a rejection kind of spirit because of that, of what we say about it. Like, hey, you're a planet. No, you're not. And you're also the smallest, and like you're way out there, and we're having this party out here. It's a specific type that just needs to get through that lesson or residue of insecurities that make them that way to the majority of people. So in tonight's class, this is going to be one of the main things that has to be very clear to those who even attend the class or to those who even have sessions with me. I'm always going to make sure that people understand their authority first before getting into these levels of knowing the types of energy, because you can get to know that part of yourself, the jinn, the demon, and so on. And then you go outside and you start having a conversation with some motherfucker. And then all of a sudden he owns your shit. All of a sudden you just got a hold of it, and you couldn't even have it for 24 hours before some motherfucker noticed that shit, because there's a way. And the thing about that is, it's cool for people who like to play that game, who are able to get away with it. But a lot of us are tired of that game, and we don't want to play, and we're not going to sit here and ask you to stop. We're going to make it stop just by claiming it in the space to ourselves. So that Wakanda forever is basically, what is your forever? Do you even know who has a hold of any of your energies, especially being a woman? Do you even know? And with men, it's manipulative women that claim to birthed them. So it's the same Masonic trick. The men do it to the women, but the women do it in a different way. They do it in a motherly way. So they mother these men and manipulate these men, and these men are binded to the womb of that woman. And they don't understand why, if they don't appease this woman in a specific type of way, all of a sudden shit starts happening in their lives because she has control over his earth, because the mother is earth. So it's either this weird manipulative mothering spirit, this weird manipulative little girl spirit who says, take my hand, please. This weird fatherly authoritative spirit, or this little boy spirit sometimes that is looking for mama when the woman doesn't even want to be mama to a spirit like that, because she's looking for a more authoritative type of man in her life. So there's this archetypical crisscross thing going on, entanglement that needs to be undone and split, so that we can really start from a fresh foundation of people actually being able to intertwine and intermingle with equals, with people that they can look up to organically, with people that they can help and mentor organically, with people that they can like confront eye to eye, be attracted to organically, not through masonry bullshit to where people are forced to be with specific people just because it's written in the fucking grid. You know, so that was like a big thing, like this weird energy that I was picking up on. And Mr. Chad came in and was just like, if you're going to mention my name on your video, here's what I need you to come back and say, because I see some things going on in my realm that I don't like, and you need to clear it for yourself before you even get into these classes or these conversations, period, point blank. Very authoritative. And I was just like, say no more. So that's all I wanted to come on here and say. I'm not even going to go into comments right now. If you guys want to attend the class, go ahead. If you want to book a session, go ahead. I'll put the stuff in the description. It's up in the comment section. But this was like something that I had to say personally before I even go publicly with other things and other levels of information. So I'm claiming my liberated pen within myself as a woman, and I'm still feminine, and I like being a woman, but I have authority and say so. Ambidextrous. So you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see some of you tonight.